Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and for today's video I'm finally going to be bringing you the 20 books that I want to read in 2020. My bookshelves are destroyed because most of the books were right next to each other, so ignore that, but I am super excited and slightly overwhelmed to be bringing you this video because of looking at all of them. I don't know if this is even feasible, but we're gonna try anyway, and I'm gonna talk to you about them so that maybe you can help to push me toward my goal and remind me each month to pick up 2 of these. The first one that I want to talk about is one that I have been reading for so freaking long, and it's on this list purely because I just need to finish it already, and that is Frankly in Love by David Yoon. This book is about a kid named Frankly who has racist parents. They want him to date a Korean girl, so when he falls in love with a girl that is white, he has to fake date one of his friends that is Korean and is in another relationship where she is not dating a Korean person like her parents would like her to, and so they fake date each other so that they can go on these dates with their actual significant others, and through fake dating they form a romance themselves and it causes a little bit of a problem. So yeah, I am so close to the end. It just needs to happen already. I am enjoying it. I haven't finished it yet. Next, I have one of my most anticipated releases from last year, so I'm not quite sure how this isn't done yet, but it is Finale by Stephanie Garber. This is the 3rd and final book in the Caraval trilogy. I'm so sad that it's going to be over, but I'm also so excited and nervous to see what happens to my characters in this book. Like I said, this is one of my most anticipated releases. This is the 3rd book, so I can't really tell you what it's about, and Caraval is a little bit difficult to explain, so all of these books will be linked in the description below so that you can look at the descriptions, but I'm nervous. This is told in 2 perspectives, which will be interesting because the other books have not. They've just followed one character. I'm also really excited. And to see who they end up with. There's so many questions. So many questions. The next 2 are ones that I need to read the entire series for, which is really stressful because there's a lot of books in both series and all the books in both series are incredibly long. But we'll start with City of Ashes. I need to finish the Mortal Instruments series. This is the 2nd book. I have already read the 1st one, and I started this one and I got like 100 pages in, I think. Yep, 108 pages in, and I put it down. What I really want to read is The Dark Artifices and The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, but you have to get through these series first in order to do that, so I'm pretty sure that these are easy reads. Like I said, I haven't read this in so long, so I don't quite remember, but everyone loves this series anyway, so I just need to finish it. But it's slightly overwhelming because of how many books there are, how many short story collections there are. They're all super long. The next super long fantasy series that I really need to complete is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. She's coming out with a new series this year. Well, not the entire series, the 1st book, which I am incredibly excited to read, but I need to finish this one. I have already read this. I've read up to Heir of Fire, and after Heir of Fire I just couldn't continue, but I really want to read Queen of Shadows, so I need to reread all of these because I don't really remember what happens, to be honest. I remember this book pretty well, and I remember Crown of Midnight really well. That book crushed my soul, but I barely remember Heir of Fire, and so I need to just completely restart, I feel like. Then I have a series that I haven't started yet. I only own the 1st book, so I'm not feeling a ton of pressure, but also this book is gargantuan as well, and the final book in this series comes out this month, and that is The Diviners by Libba Bray. These books are set in 1920s New York City, and they're like paranormal fantasy. They sound absolutely incredible. I know that we follow a really big, diverse cast of characters, but aside from that, I don't really know much else. I know that the 2nd book everyone freaking loves, and so again, I need to read the 2nd book as well, but I don't own that, so I'm not putting pressure on myself to do that. But I need to read this one. Everybody freaking loves them, and everybody loves the audiobooks for this, so let me know if you think I should read this physically or use the audiobook. Then I have a book that I haven't ever really heard anyone talk about, but since I've seen it, all I've wanted to do is read it, and I don't know why I haven't, but that is The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. This is the first book in A Chorus of Dragons, I think is the name of the series. The sequel came out in November of 2019, and I didn't pick that one up because I had some self-control, and I was like, I haven't even read the first one yet. I don't even know if I'm going to like it, but this, I think, is following a guy who is a fugitive because he was a prince and didn't know it, and then there are dragons, and that's all I know about it, but it sounds absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Something in here that I found really interesting was in the synopsis, it says, practically a prisoner, Corinne discovers that being a long-lost prince is nothing like what the storybooks have promised. The storybooks lied about a lot of other things too. Dragons, demons, gods, prophecies, true love, and how the hero always wins. Then again, maybe he isn't the hero after all, for Corinne is not destined to save the Empire. He's destined to destroy it. So, it sounds absolutely incredible, and I need to read it. Plus, it has dragons, and I think I've only ever read one book series that has dragons, and for someone who really enjoys fantasy, that's kind of ridiculous and sad. My life is a little sad for that. Next, I have another really thick fantasy book that has dragons, and I'm sure that you can probably guess, and that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This book is like 800 pages, I think, and everyone that I've seen read it has loved it. I know that there is a female-female romance in here. I know that there are dragons, and the Empire is like split, and it's between like people that think dragons are really good and people that think dragons are like demonic, and they have to team together to destroy this one dragon that is bad. I think that's what it's about. Other than that, I have no freaking idea. This is an adult fantasy. But yeah, like I said, I'm really excited. I wanted to read this. This was another one that was one of my most anticipated releases of last year that I just didn't end up picking up. But I have lowered my Goodreads goal to 70 books this year just so that I can kind of accommodate for bigger books like this that I might need to take some more time with. So I'm hoping that with that I can finish bigger books like this. Then I have some backlist titles that I got for Christmas, and I'm so freaking excited to get started with this series, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I started this Savage Song, which is also on this list, last year, and I was really enjoying it. This is an adult series where there are 4 Londons, and we follow someone who is, I think, a thief and can travel through all 4, and some of them don't have magic, some of them do. I think maybe magic is outlawed in a couple others. I have no idea really, but everyone seems to love this series, and people who have really similar taste to me love this series, so I'm really excited to give it a chance. Plus, I want to know who all of these characters that everyone loves from this series are and why they love them so much, and hopefully love them myself. So, really excited for this one. This is a trilogy, and these books aren't as long, I don't think. Maybe that's just wishful thinking, but this one definitely isn't super long, so hopefully I can do it. Then we have another adult fantasy. I guess that 2020 is just my year for that, and that is The Poppy War by R.F. Kong. I heard Brittany over at Brittany the Bibliophile read this, and she absolutely loved it. I heard her read this. I heard her talk about this after she read it, and she absolutely loved it. This is about a girl who is sent into war, I think, like to be a soldier. Other than that, I don't really know what it's about. I've heard that it's really dark and there are a bunch of trigger warnings. I have no idea what they are. So all of the books will be Goodreads links, and so I would recommend going through some reviews to kind of get the trigger warnings for that. But yeah, really excited to read this. no idea what it's about. Now I have some young adult fantasies. I mean, I probably have more adult fantasies in here too, but we are taking a break from them for a little bit. And we have Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This is the first book in the Arc of a Scythe trilogy. The Toll came out last year, and I'm pretty sure most people absolutely adored that book. Most people love this entire series. This is like a dystopian fantasy where humans have kind of cured everything that causes death, and so people don't really die anymore. They're not immortal, but people dying of like cancer and all of those things doesn't really happen, and people dying of old age doesn't really happen either. And so they have these things called scythes who glean people to kind of help control the population, and we are following two scythes in training, I believe. Citra and Rowan, I think, are their names. This sounds super dark and interesting, and I'm really excited to read it. I've wanted to read it since it came out, and now I finally have my hands on the entire trilogy, so hopefully at least this first book can happen, like I've said with everything else. Then we have The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. I saw a bunch of people read this one last year and absolutely adore it. I wanted to hop on the bandwagon and read this too. The sequel came out, I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before, and then the third book, I think it might be the conclusion, but maybe not, comes out this year. So I want to try and at least read this one before the third one comes out. I think that this takes place in New York City. I don't really remember what this one's about. I just know that people, again, love this, and I think that there's time travel in it. Moving on. Next, I have another one where the sequel recently came out and I really want to read it, and that is The Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I started this one last year and I was really enjoying it, but I put it down because when I picked it up I was not doing well mentally, and so I just never got around to reading it once I was feeling a little bit better. So I really want to start it. I think the reason, or not start it, but finish it. I think the reason that I haven't finished this is because I was not enjoying the perspective of Zelly, who is the main character. I was enjoying the other perspectives that we had gotten, but wasn't a big fan of Zelly, and I haven't really heard that much. So I'm hoping that maybe she gets better. Oh wow, the rest of these are young adult. Next, we have a book that really intimidates me because I've heard that the prose are really lyrical, and I am worried that it will almost be dense, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. People absolutely love this book too. This follows Laszlo Strange, who is a librarian and is obsessed with this lost city of Weep. Weep originally had a name, but everyone has since forgotten what its true name was, along with everything else that they know about it. But he is obsessed with learning as much as he possibly can, and one day a convoy comes and invites him to go to this city and learn more about it. I've heard that this is dual perspective, but nobody ever talks about the other perspective because apparently it's a huge spoiler, and the story goes so much farther beyond what that short little summary provides. But it sounds super interesting. This is the first book in the duology, and I talked about it a lot last year, wanting to read it, and then I never actually did. So hopefully 2020 can be the year that I actually do it. Next, I have a newer release. This came out in November, but I just recently got my hands on it, and that is Girls of Storm and Shadow by Tasha Nyan. I read Girls of Paper and Fire, I believe, last year in February, and really enjoyed it. So I want to read this one as well. This is the sequel. This follows a girl named Lei in a world where there are castes. There are three. So there's the paper caste, which are just regular old humans. There is the steel caste, I think, which they're a mix between humans and demons. And then there is the, I don't remember what the other cast is, but those are the demons, and they're like the most powerful and they rule the world. And in the first book, Lei is called up to be a concubine for the king, and she's not happy about it, where most people find it to be an honor. And so we follow her journey through that, and then this is the sequel, so I obviously can't tell you what it's about. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where this takes us, and everything that's gonna happen, because it's already such a different direction than the first book was going. Then I actually have a couple science fiction books on here. The first one being Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Supernova came out late last year and people were obsessing over that. I have heard nothing but good things, particularly from Emma Books, who absolutely is infatuated with this series, and it sounds super interesting. It's like a superhero book, so I'm sure that I'm going to enjoy it because I love Marvel and DC and just those movies and comics and everything. So I imagine that I will enjoy this. I just haven't picked it up yet, obviously. Then the other sci-fi book on this list is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Starsight, again, came out late last year and I really want to read it. People say that they can get through this book really quickly, and I got my fairy loot, if you haven't seen that video, and in that box we got Skyward inspired bookmarks, and so I really want to use those and read them. I think that would be super cute. This is about a girl who wants to be a pilot just like her dad was, but when her dad was a pilot, something happened and he was marked a coward because he fled away from his crew instead of like being honorable and brave, and so nobody really wants to, you know, take her on to be a pilot because they think that she's gonna end up being just like her dad, but she wants to prove them wrong, and there were aliens. That's all I know about it. Then, as I mentioned earlier, I want to finish reading This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This is a super easy read, which kind of surprised me. I am 200 pages into it and really loving it. I love August so much. This follows a world that is split between monsters and humans, and the book kind of questions, are humans really good? Are monsters really 100% evil all of the time, or can they kind of switch roles? And we are following the perspectives of a human and a girl, or a human and a girl. Okay, we are following the perspectives of a human and a monster, and we're watching them interact, and it's so good. Every time I talk about this book, I want to pick it up, and then I never do, so good, Erin, good. Then I have another one of my most anticipated releases from last year that I just didn't pick up, but I know it's gonna be good because I read like the first 2 pages of it, and the writing was already so like investing, and I heard Naya from Naya Reads and Smiles talk about it, and she loved it, so I know it's gonna be good. It just needs to happen, and I feel like I discovered this before so many people, and people are gonna come around and they're gonna read it and they're gonna be like, wow, this is mind-blowing, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, I knew it was, you should have listened to me, but I haven't read it, so I can't say any of that. And that is Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. This has been summarized and pitched as Mulan meets Project Runway, and if that doesn't sell you, I honestly don't know what will. 2 more books, and they're both books that I started last year that I need to finish, so you're gonna hear me like broken record 2 more times. The first one is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This Queen of Nothing came out late last year, and I want to read it and see what the hype is about. Just like every other freaking book I've talked about. This follows a girl named Jude who is a human living in the fairy world, and fairies in this world are incredibly cruel, and so she's trying to navigate and be smarter than them, but fairies are just ultimately better and superior in a lot of ways than humans are, and so she's having a really difficult time with that. That's all I know. That's it. Then lastly, we have A Reaper at the Gates by Sabaa Tahir. Honestly, kind of glad that I haven't finished this one yet, because the 4th book in this series, title hasn't been announced, we haven't seen the cover, and it doesn't come out until next year. I'm going to cry. This is following Elias Vitterius and Laya. What's her last name? Why can't I ever remember it? Does she have a last name? Anyway, it's following Elias and Laya, who are rebels against this power that rules their world. Elias was once part of this power, but he didn't like what it stood for, and Laia was a scholar, and her people were suppressed by Elias's people, and so they are on the run and trying to overthrow it, just like so many other fantasy books. I fell in love automatically with both of these characters, but I wasn't loving this book, and so I was having a hard time getting through it, but hopefully that can happen. I'm 140 pages in. These aren't that long, and they are super easy reads, so I just need to do it. Those are the 20 books that I want to try and read this year. Please encourage me in the comments of each of my wrap-ups to at least incorporate 1 or 2 each month. If it's Priory of the Orange Tree, I'm just gonna do 1 because I don't need that kind of pressure in my life to... Honestly, that will probably be my only book on that TBR. But seriously, please try and remind me and encourage me to pick these up throughout the year, because I will be so bad at it and forget this list, as I so often do with just regular monthly TBR, so I don't know why I thought this video would be a good idea. But I'm really excited to hopefully read all of these. Let me know what some books are that you really want to get to this year, and maybe I'll add those to my list too and just stress myself out even more. I hope that you're all doing well, reading mentally and otherwise, and I really hope to see you all in my next video. Bye guys! Now I have to hold these up. Are you kidding? I just woke up. I'm tired. Okay, now I need a nap, which is sad because I'm not even kidding.